Okay, and you are on the time warp. It's 9:02. You are tuned to WHUS Stores.
I have this really, kind of weird story for you. Okay, I had this boyfriend, right, and he was, really weird. He used to dress really weird and stuff. And he was, a peace activist and stuff, and he was really weird, okay? And he's just so weird. So one day, he was over at my house, right, and we're sitting on the couch, and we're kind of, sort of making out and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I look down at my watch, and I realize what time it is, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm missing my soap. So, I said, we have to stop. I said, I have to watch my soap. So we stop, and we watch my soap, and blah, 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 blah. And, so my boyfriend, he turns to me, he says, my ex-boyfriend, he says, why don't we go out for a walk, a really romantic walk. We can, bring some bread and feed the dogs and stuff. And I said, what, are you crazy? I said, my other soap is on right after this one. I can't miss it. And he says, well, why don't you record it and we'll watch it later? And I said, no. I said, that defeats the purpose. So, okay, he leaves and stuff. And, he calls me up later that night, and he's like, I think we really have to rethink our relationship. And I'm like, okay, fine. What? And he says, well, you're always watching TV. And he's like, really, you're kind of boring. And I was like, what? I said, no way. I said, just because you don't watch TV and I do, come on. And I said, fine, I suppose you want to break up with me now. And he said, yeah, I do. And I was like, fine. So I hung up the phone on him. And so get this. So the other week, I'm going through the radio stations on my radio, right? And I go all the way to the left for some reason, where all those geeky college radio stations are. And one of the DJs sounds really familiar, okay? And I realized that it's my ex-boyfriend. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, he's a total geek. He's a total weirdo. He was on WHUS 91.7 FM. I'm like, oh my god, thank god I am not going out with him anymore, because WHUS is where all the geeks are. Could you just die?
Okay, home of the geek.